Welcome to the Morrison Report. Hosted by Morrison, sales representative for Bosley Real Estate Limited Brokerage. Ms. Morrison has co-authored the best-selling book, Success Today, with Brian Tracy, and has been interviewed on NBC, ABC, and CBS affiliates by Bob Guinea from The Bachelor. Devel, a real estate investor, has spoken to many attendees at her real estate seminars and is currently ranked in the top 5% of agents in her brokerage. Join me in welcoming your host, Devel Morrison.
Thanks so much for joining the Morrison Report podcast today. I really wanted to create a podcast that showcased Toronto real estate insights, just everything I was curious to learn about real estate. So thanks so much for joining us today, and we're excited for a really good show. So thank you so much for joining us today, Connie. It's great to have you with us. Connie Parsons is an owner and financial planner of Portfolio Clinic, and she is going to be giving us some tips and insights into the financial planning world. Thanks so much for joining the show, Connie.
Thanks for having me, Devel.
Awesome. So, Connie, can you just tell us, what does a financial planner do?
Yeah, great question. It's kind of a mystery to a lot of people. It's a process. So each client that comes to us, we sit down with for the first meeting is generally 2 hours long, and we go over 7 key areas. And then at the second meeting, we present a detailed plan that includes, but is not limited to, cash flow and budgeting. That's kind of the groundwork for everything. If you don't know what cash you have to work with at the end of the day, the rest of the plan kind of falls apart.
That makes a lot of sense.
Net worth. Yeah, net worth. So what you have minus what you owe. And then we do investment planning, and that includes things like risk tolerance, asset allocation, and investment selection. Insurance, which could include disability, critical illness, long-term care, and term insurance, or just examining the insurance policies that you have currently in your plan to make sure that they meet your existing needs. Education planning for any minor children, and then tax planning. So there's a lot that we can do before the tax man comes around with their hand open to hopefully save you some taxes, both before and after retirement. You can plan actually to decrease your taxes during retirement decades before. And estate planning, so providing for future generations and also the smooth transfer of your wealth from generation to generation.
Awesome. And on that note of estate planning, what do you think about wills? Do you think people should do up a will?
Yeah, wills are actually really important. I had a client recently who had a $1 million judgment from an accident that they had, and they ended up dying as a result of injuries from that accident. They died intestate, which means without a will, and the father ended up getting the majority of the proceeds of his $1 million payout, even though the father had been estranged and his siblings were left with nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, so, it involved a court battle. It was really litigious. And, you protect your loved ones with a will. If you have minor children, that'll protect your minor children. For instance, maybe your estranged spouse, you don't want to have, control of your assets after you die. Maybe you want to put your assets in a trust for your minor children.
Right.
And it avoids lengthy probate. You end up sometimes with families being split and, siblings never talking to each other ever again because they've thought over, either a non-existent will or a will that was ambiguous or wasn't up to date. And you can also minimize estate taxes, through the use of a will. So, yeah, you really want to make sure that those people that you didn't want to inherit don't inherit. And you want to make sure that those who are going to inherit get the best deal.
I'm always surprised when I ask friends, how many people have a will, and I'm shocked to hear how many people don't have a will. I did up my will probably, 10 years ago because my mother was all over me. She's like, you've got to get this done. But I'm shocked whether I talk to single friends or married friends with kids, how many people don't have wills. Is that something that you see a lot in your business?
Yeah, there's definitely two ends of the spectrum. There's people like yourself who are super planners. You were born almost with a will. And then there are those that really, it's the ostrich approach. It's head in the sand. If I don't look at it, it's never going to happen. And it's mostly a fear of death. So having these conversations with clients at a first meeting are difficult. Cash flow can be difficult. Net worth can be a difficult conversation. Talking about wills and estate planning can be very difficult. So these are conversations that have to be had, and having a financial advisor sit down really expedites the process and makes sure that, things that might not have gotten addressed otherwise are put in place. And takes the sting out of it.
Right. And how often should someone update their will?
Generally whenever something happens in their life, so the birth of a child, the death of a spouse, remarriage or marriage, you can always view it on an annual basis, but generally whenever your circumstances change, you should change the will.
Got it. Makes sense. One of the other things that you had mentioned earlier was disability insurance. So now, why would somebody need disability insurance? What's that all about?
Yeah, there's two types of insurance, basically. The one type of insurance is for the living, right? And the other type of insurance provides for the living after somebody dies. So the disability insurance, critical illness, long-term care, those are the three insurances that fall in the category of for the living. So when somebody becomes disabled, the average disability claim lasts 35 months. So when you think about it, what would happen if you were out of work for 35 months? That's on average.
Right.
Or God forbid, even permanently. So disability provides a replacement of your income. So you insure your house, you insure your car. Disability insurance is insurance for your income. So that's pretty important. There's a lot of little pitfalls when purchasing disability insurance, and also people have to really take a look, what is the right type of insurance for them?
Right. Maybe
they have a disability plan at work, and maybe their job is something that is very, very secure, like a teacher or a nurse, and maybe they want to top it up with a critical illness plan. Now, where disability insurance ends at 65, long-term care insurance can really be a benefit. That is most usually a permanent policy, and it covers you in the event that you cannot perform 2 of 6 activities of daily living. So sitting down with an insurance advisor is really important to figure out what type of insurance is best for you. And then when you're looking at disability insurance, there's a lot of little nooks and crannies in there. For instance, you could be in a wheelchair, but because you are an accountant, disability insurance might not pay out because you can still perform all of the duties that your job requires. Yeah. Now, if you're a bricklayer or you are a firefighter, you're somebody who works in a physical, position, being in a wheelchair wouldn't swing it. But if you don't buy a rider for your disability insurance that includes own occupation, you could end up being a Walmart greeter.
Right. It's true.
They could say, listen, you're in a wheelchair, but you can still be a Walmart greeter. You can still work at a call center, So you have to buy a rider that includes own occupation as opposed to any occupation. And then really in 20 years from now, say you buy $1,000 a week of disability insurance,
right.
so $4,000 a month. In 20 years from now, what is $4,000 a month after inflation takes hold? You have to also look at buying an inflation rider.
Wow.
And then future insurability rider. So if you are somebody who is starting out your career, disability insurance is only going to provide you with, say, 65% approximately of your current income in the event of disability. Well, what if, say, you're a medical resident and now you're making $40,000 a year, but in 10 years from now, you're going to be making $300,000 a year.
Right.
Your disability plan won't cover your expenses. So buying a future insurability rider ensures that regardless of any changes in your health, in the future, you can top up your insurance to cover your future needs.
Got it. Wow.
So there's a lot of little things to think about that, a seasoned insurance and financial planner will be able to steer a client in the right direction to.
Right.
Or from.
And now, and if we continue along that same insurance path and we look at what's the difference between having mortgage insurance and life insurance, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's huge. So if you take a look at mortgage insurance, let's run down a comparative list of mortgage insurance versus term insurance.
Okay.
So when it comes to term insurance, which basically just means you purchase an amount of insurance, and if you die in that certain period of time, the average is 20 years, your beneficiaries get the money. So that's what term insurance is. And mortgage insurance is tied to your mortgage and sold by your lender. So let's take a look at a comparison. When you have term insurance, you own the policy and you get to name your beneficiaries. When you have mortgage insurance, you do not own the policy. The policy is a group policy, and the beneficiary is your lender. So flexibility. So when you have term insurance, you own your own policy, you can increase or decrease the coverage. You can convert the 20-year term policy, say, to a permanent policy during the policy's lifespan. And, you can change your beneficiaries whenever you want. If you have mortgage insurance, your lender will only insure the amount of your mortgage. So you can't alter it. You can't renew it. And the amount of insurance that you have with the lender decreases as you pay off your mortgage. And your coverage ends when your mortgage ends. That's it. You got nothing.
Got it.
And if you have a 5-year term mortgage, maybe in 5 years from now, you don't qualify for insurance. You never know. Maybe all of a sudden, you've developed kidney cancer or, high blood pressure, diabetes. All of a sudden, you don't qualify for your own policy. So getting your own policy up front really protects against those risks.
Right.
And also on death, the benefit for a term policy goes directly to your beneficiaries. On death, the benefit goes directly to the mortgage company for the mortgage insurance. And, the coverage is guaranteed. When you buy term insurance, a nurse comes to your home or, questions are answered, you are qualified. That is your insurance.
Right.
When you buy mortgage insurance, it's what's called post-qualified. When you buy mortgage insurance, your lender will then look at those few questions that you answered when you purchased that insurance and then qualify you. They'll send a letter to your doctor to make sure that you didn't lie about anything, for instance, smoking status. They can change or cancel the policy at any time at their discretion.
Wow.
Yeah. And also a really important factor is when you have your own personal term insurance, your coverage is based on your age, on your health, and your smoking status. When you have mortgage insurance, the insurance is a group plan, so you pay the same rate for your coverage as everybody else, regardless of whether, somebody like yourself who doesn't smoke, you have a very healthy lifestyle.
Right.
You'll pay the same amount as, a beer-guzzling couch, potato who smokes a pack a day.
Right.
So you want to make sure that, when you're choosing between term and mortgage insurance, that you first, find out what's really behind the policy. What are you really buying here?
And the mortgage insurance is essentially just to make sure that the mortgage gets paid off if you die, correct?
Yeah, and, one of the problems with that is, like I said, at the end of the mortgage term,
that mortgage insurance
maybe
goes
your
away.
health status has changed and you no longer qualify for your own insurance. Yeah, so if instead of buying, if your mortgage is $500,000 and you buy a 20-year term $500,000 insurance policy, that's your policy regardless of, how many mortgage lenders you go through. If you buy it with your lender, that policy goes away at the end of the term of your mortgage.
Got it.
And it also decreases over the term of the mortgage, and it might be more expensive than your own personal mortgage because it doesn't take into account your healthy lifestyle habits.
Wow, interesting. So if we actually
and the lender gets the money, and maybe what you would have preferred is for your beneficiaries to get the money and decide whether or not they want to pay off the mortgage or continue to make payments and use the money for other purposes like educating their children.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it definitely makes sense. So on that mortgage note, I mean, how can you help someone save for a down payment on a home if they were wanting to get into the market?
Yeah, well, the